The cry in the void. In the cold silence of space, a small silver ship floated near the rings of Saturn. The stars around it shimmered like tiny diamonds, but inside the ship there was no beauty, only fear and pain. Zara, a tall alien mother from the planet Velen 7, sat alone in the dark cabin. Her skin glowed faint blue, and her large black eyes were full of tears. In her arms, she held her baby, wrapped in a thin blanket of organic fiber. The baby was breathing, but very slowly. His tiny chest moved up and down like a weak flicker of light. Zara whispered softly, "Stay with me, my son. Please stay." The baby's name was Cal. He was only 10 Valonian days old, barely a week in Earth time. But something was terribly wrong with him. His body temperature was falling. His heart was beating too slow. Every healer on her home planet had tried to help, but nothing worked. No alien technology, no rare herbs, no healing crystals. They all failed. One old healer had told her the truth. "This is not a Valonian disease," he said. "It is something ancient, something mixed. The child's DNA is not pure. He must have a spark from another race, a dying spark." Zara was shocked. Her child was mixed. But how? She had never met another species. Still, the healer warned her. There is only one hope. A human. Their blood might carry the missing key. Zara had never seen a human before. Her people feared them. Stories said humans were cruel, violent, and greedy. But now, her son's life depended on one of them. So she did something forbidden. She activated the emergency beacon on her ship and changed its frequency. Instead of calling her own people, she sent a message toward Earth. The message was short, just a few simple words, translated into human language. "My child is dying. Only your kind can save him. Please, help us." Far away on Earth, in a small lab outside Chicago, Dr. Daniel Ross leaned back in his chair. He was a young biologist, known for studying immune systems. Most days were quiet, just research and coffee. But today, something strange happened. His computer beeped loudly. Signal detected. Source: unknown. Message: alien language decoded. Daniel blinked. What the? He opened the message and read the strange sentence. "My child is dying. Only your kind can save him." He read it again. And again. "Is this a joke?" he muttered. He checked the signal data. It came from deep space, beyond Mars, near Saturn. Too strong, too clean to be fake. Daniel stood up, his heart racing. "Nova," he called out. His AI assistant appeared as a small blue hologram above his desk. "Yes, Daniel. Check this message. Is it real?" Nova blinked. "Confirmed. Source is a Valonian escape pod. Life signs: 2. 1 adult. 1 weak infant." Daniel sat down slowly. The baby was dying, and they believed only a human could save it. Why him? Why humans? He remembered something. His own daughter, Emma. She had died 2 years ago from a rare disease no one could cure. He had held her in his arms as she took her final breath. That pain never left him. And now, another parent was going through the same thing. "No," he whispered. "Not again." He looked at Nova. How long to reach that ship? Nova paused. "With private craft and fast jump, 12 hours. Daniel stood up. "Prepare the ship. We leave tonight." Nova blinked again. "Warning. This mission is dangerous. Alien contact is not authorized by government. You may face charges. You may not survive." Daniel smiled sadly. "A baby is dying, Nova. If there's a chance I can help, then I have to try." Back in the tiny ship near Saturn, Zara rocked her baby slowly. His breathing was weaker now. His tiny hand no longer moved. She looked out the window, toward the stars. She didn't know if anyone had heard her message. Maybe no one would come. But still, she waited. One tear slid down her cheek, and fell onto her child's forehead. "Please," she whispered into the void. "Let someone out there care." A human's dangerous decision. The cold wind blew hard outside the private hangar in North Dakota. Snow danced in the dark air as the night wrapped the earth in silence. But inside the old steel structure, the silence was broken by fast footsteps, the sound of a door slamming open, and a voice filled with urgency. Dr. Daniel Ross ran across the hangar floor, his breath visible in the cold. He was wearing a thick brown coat, a backpack full of lab gear bouncing behind him. His eyes were red from lack of sleep, but his mind was sharp, more focused than it had been in years. He had made his decision. He was going to space. The private shuttle sitting in the middle of the hangar looked nothing like NASA crafts. It was older, slightly worn, but powerful. This ship was once built for asteroid miners. Now it was about to be used for something no one had ever tried: rescuing an alien baby. Nova, his AI assistant, greeted him through the ship's intercom. Fuel cells charged, navigation coordinates locked. Valonian distress signal still active. Daniel climbed into the pilot's seat and secured his belt. "Good. Let's go." Nova paused. "Final warning. Earth authorities may consider this mission illegal. You are leaving without permit, without crew, and without contact. Do you accept all risk?" Daniel stared at the small hologram floating in front of him. "Nova, I lost my daughter because no one wanted to take a risk. I won't let another child die the same way." Nova gave a soft beep. "Understood." Initiating launch sequence. The engines roared to life. The ship vibrated under him. As the hangar doors opened, Daniel took one last look at Earth. Then, with a blast of light, the shuttle lifted off into the sky and vanished into the stars. 8 hours later, space was a quiet place, but Daniel's thoughts were loud. He sat near the ship's lab station, staring at the recorded message from the alien mother again. Her voice was soft, trembling, filled with something that didn't need translation: desperation. "Please, my baby is dying. Only your kind can help." Daniel leaned back, rubbing his eyes. How could a human save an alien child? What was so special about human blood? Nova's voice came gently. "I have analyzed the Valonian race. Their biology is different, but there are overlapping immune structures. Some match early-stage human cells." Daniel sat up. "Wait, are you saying our immune systems evolved in a similar way?" "Yes," Nova replied. "A small chance exists that your blood can trigger healing in the child's system, but success is uncertain. And it could kill you." Daniel was silent. For a moment, he thought of turning back. He thought of the laws he was breaking, the danger, the unknown. But then he saw her face again, the alien mother, eyes full of tears, hands shaking as she held her child. He remembered Emma, his daughter, the last day of the hospital, the cold bed, the doctors giving up. Daniel couldn't do that again. Not this time. He whispered, "If I die helping, that's better than living with regret." 4 hours later, Nova beeped again. Approaching target. Valonian vessel detected. Life signs faint. The small ship drifted in the blackness of space like a forgotten feather. Its lights were dim, its engines dead. Daniel docked gently and wore a special pressure suit. He carried a medical bag and stepped into the airlock. The doors hissed as they opened. The first thing he heard was nothing. Just silence. But then, soft crying. He moved toward the sound, turning corners inside the dim alien ship. The walls were smooth and curved. Strange symbols glowed faintly. Then, in a small round chamber, he saw her. Zara. She was kneeling on the floor, holding a pale bundle in her arms. Her glowing skin was dull now, her body weak from cold and hunger. But her eyes still had fire when she looked up at him. She gasped. "Human." Daniel raised both hands, showing peace. "I'm here to help." Zara clutched her child tighter. Why would you help us? Daniel slowly stepped closer. Because I know what it's like to lose a child. I couldn't save mine, but maybe I can save yours. There was a long silence between them. Then, slowly, she unwrapped the child. The baby was barely breathing. His skin was gray-blue. His small chest moved so slowly, Daniel feared it would stop. He quickly scanned the baby. Heart rate, critical. Temperature, below safe limits. Cells, breaking down. Daniel looked at Zara. We don't have much time. I have to try something risky. Zara nodded, her hands shaking. Do what you must. Inside Daniel's ship, he placed the baby in a small medical pod. The pod scanned the child and began stabilizing his body temperature. Daniel rolled up his sleeve. He looked at Nova. Connect my bloodline to the child. Filter it. Match the proteins. But don't hold back. Nova hesitated. This has never been done. Daniel whispered, then let's be the first. He inserted the line into his arm. His blood flowed slowly into the pod, through advanced filters, mixing with alien plasma. For 10 minutes, nothing happened. Zara stood beside the pod, holding her breath. Please, she whispered. Suddenly, the monitor beeped. One stronger heartbeat, then another, then another. The baby's skin began to glow faintly blue again. His chest moved faster. He opened one eye, a small black eye, just like his mother's. Zara gasped. She fell to her knees, crying. He's alive. Daniel nearly collapsed from weakness, but he smiled. Nova's voice spoke gently. Success. The child is stabilizing. Human antibodies adapted and triggered dormant healing in his cells. Zara looked at Daniel with wide eyes. You saved him. A human saved him. Daniel closed his eyes, breathing hard. No, a father saved him. But not far away, in the dark of space, something else had noticed the signal. A small ship, painted black with the mark of the Valonian Council, was speeding toward them. And they were not coming to say thank you. They were coming to erase the shame. The alien refuge. The baby was breathing again. Soft and steady. Zara couldn't take her eyes off him. Little Kale, wrapped in warmth inside the glowing medical pod, looked like he had returned from the edge of death. His small chest rose and fell. His skin, once gray and lifeless, now glowed faint blue. He was sleeping, but this time, it was not the sleep of dying. It was the sleep of healing. Zara sat beside him, holding his tiny hand through the sigh of the pod. A mother's fingers, an alien's heart, but her emotions were the same as any parent's. Fear, hope, relief, gratitude. Daniel was lying nearby, pale and exhausted. The blood transfer had taken more out of him than he expected. But he was alive. Barely. Nova, the ship's AI, adjusted the lights inside the cabin. Vitals stable. Both patients recovering. Zara looked at Daniel. You gave him your life. Daniel gave a weak smile. Just a little. I had some to spare. She tilted her head, eyes full of wonder. You don't even know us. Why? Daniel closed his eyes. Because once, no one came when I asked for help. I won't be that kind of world. Zara was silent for a while. Then she said, You are not like the stories. But far beyond their quiet moment, something was coming. The stars shifted, and in the blackness of deep space, a sleek vessel flew fast and silent. It had no lights, no markings, just a symbol etched deep on its hull, a silver eye over a sword. The Valonian Council. They had tracked Zara's signal. They had seen the unauthorized call to a human, a forbidden action, a violation of their sacred laws. Inside the ship, Commander Trivax stood tall. His armor was dark, and his expression was colder than any metal. We locate the fugitive. We erase the shame. The hybrid child must not survive. Back inside Daniel's ship, the atmosphere was quiet, but questions were growing. Zara helped Daniel sit up with a hot drink made from Valonian roots. He sipped it slowly, watching her carefully. "Why didn't your people help you?" he asked. She looked down. "Because Kale is not pure. The disease he carries is tied to something old, something mixed. They feared what he might become. They called him a mistake." Daniel frowned. "But he's just a baby." She nodded. "They fear change more than death." Daniel stood slowly and walked to the window. The stars outside blinked softly. He thought of Earth, of wars fought over race, over differences. Fear had always been a dangerous weapon. He looked at her. "You said something about ancient mixing." Zara's expression changed. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "There is a legend on Velon. Long ago, before records began, a ship from a distant planet crashed on our world. Inside was a traveler, not of our kind. Some say he was human, but the story was buried, hidden by the elders." Daniel raised his eyebrows. "Are you saying humans and Valonians might have met before?" Zara nodded. "And Kale might carry the proof." Suddenly, Nova's voice interrupted. "Warning. Incoming ship. 30,000 kilometers and closing fast." No response to hails. Daniel rushed to the control screen. "Who is it?" Nova responded coldly. "Unknown class. No ID. No lights. Stealth active. Most likely, Valonian Council ship." Zara's eyes widened. "They found us." Daniel's heart pounded. "Why are they coming?" Zara whispered, "To erase the shame and the child." Daniel gritted his teeth. "No way I'm letting that happen." They moved fast. Daniel helped Zara and Kale into a protective chamber at the back of the ship. Nova redirected all systems for emergency protocols. Zara looked back at Daniel. "You should run. You're not part of this." He shook his head. "Too late for that." She placed her hand on his arm. "They will see you as a threat." He smiled. "Then let's give them something to be afraid of." Outside, the council ship locked on. Inside, Daniel and Zara prepared for the worst. Then, the attack began. The first strike was a shockwave pulse. The ship shook violently. Alarms rang. Lights flickered. Daniel gripped the controls. "Nova, activate shields." Shields at 40%. And dropping. Zara wrapped her arms around the baby, shielding him. Daniel shouted, "We're not gonna last like this. Do we have a jump engine?" Nova paused. "Short range only. Unsafe." Daniel slammed his fist on the panel. "Do it anyway. Just get us to a safe zone." Nova engaged the emergency jump. With a flash of light, the ship blinked out of one spot and appeared inside a dark, icy cloud field on the edge of Saturn's rings. The council ship overshot the location, but they would soon track them again. Inside, the jump knocked Daniel to the floor. Sparks flew. Systems shorted, but the ship was still whole. He stood up slowly. "Is everyone okay?" Zara nodded, holding Cal close. "We're alive." As they drifted silently in the gas cloud, Daniel turned off all power systems except life support. "They won't see us here for a while." He looked at Zara. "We can't stay in space. They'll find us." Zara looked down at Kale. "There is one place." She pulled up a glowing map from her bracelet. "A hidden moon. No cities. No law. Refugees go there. Outcasts. It's called No Hartil, the Forgotten." Daniel stared at it. "Can we land there safely?" "No one lands safely," she said. "But it's the only place they won't follow." Daniel took a deep breath. "Then that's where we go." Hours later, through the dust and storms of No Hartil, the ship made its descent. The surface was rough. Gray mountains, dark forests, and strange glowing lakes. The ship landed with a hard jolt, skidding across broken rocks before it came to a stop. They had made it, but only barely. Zara stepped out first, holding her baby against her chest. Daniel followed, scanning the air. Nova's voice echoed through their comms. Atmosphere. Breathable. Environment. Harsh. Creatures. Unknown. Daniel looked around. Welcome to the alien refuge. Zara gave a soft smile. Where life begins again, or ends quietly. In the distance, strange shadows moved. Other refugees. Other secrets. Daniel looked at Kel, still sleeping in Zara's arms. Let's build a shelter, he said. We'll protect him. Together. Zara nodded, human and alien. And as they walked toward a cave near the edge of a glowing river, the baby stirred. His eyes opened. He looked up at the strange sky. And he smiled. Time is running out. Wind howled across the dark surface of Noartil, the forgotten moon. Dust storms swept through broken canyons, and glowing lakes bubbled quietly under toxic clouds. But hidden inside a jagged rock formation, in a small cave warmed by solar blankets and low lights, 3 lives fought to survive. Daniel Ross stood at the entrance, watching the strange sky. He had set up small solar panels and scanners around the cave. They weren't high-tech, but enough to keep the baby warm, power medical equipment, and detect incoming ships, especially the one they feared most. Inside the cave, Zara sat quietly, cradling Kel in her arms. The baby had healed more since the blood transfer. His skin was brighter now, his energy stronger. He cooed softly and clutched his mother's fingers. His black eyes glowed with a soft, innocent light. But Zara was not smiling. She watched the child like she might lose him at any moment. Daniel walked back in and placed a container of clean water near her. He's doing better, he said gently. Zara nodded, but not safe. Daniel crouched beside them. The council won't give up, will they? No, she whispered. They believe Kel is dangerous, a threat to our kind. And yours. Daniel looked at the baby. He's just a child. Zara shook her head. Not to them. He's proof that humans and Valonians can share blood, share life. That breaks everything they were taught. Daniel stood, frustrated. So they'll kill a baby to protect a lie. Zara looked up at him. They've done worse. Later that night, under a sky filled with 2 moons, Daniel sat by a scanner, fixing a broken transmitter. His hands worked slowly, but his mind raced. He remembered Earth. Home. Science labs. Hospitals. His daughter Emma's last day. He remembered how doctors gave up. How no one tried anything new. Too risky, they said. And now, here he was, risking everything for a child who wasn't even his. For a mother who wasn't even human. And yet, he had never felt more alive. Nova's voice broke his thoughts. Daniel. Energy spike detected. Orbit above Noartil. Cloaked vessel. Same signature as Valonian Council ship. Daniel's stomach dropped. How long before they find us? Unknown, Nova replied. But they are scanning the surface. Pattern shows narrowing search stones. Estimated time until discovery. 3 hours. Daniel stood fast. Time is running out. Back inside the cave, Zara tried to rest, but she kept waking up to Kel's small coughs. His body was healing, but the environment was harsh. Even with protection, the moon's air carried hidden toxins. When Daniel entered with the news, her heart sank. They're here, he said softly. We have 3 hours, maybe less. Zara's eyes filled with panic. We can't run again. The ship's too damaged. Daniel nodded. That's why we're not running. Zara stood. Then what? Daniel hesitated. We fight, or we show the truth. Zara frowned. They won't listen. He looked at her. Then let's make the galaxy listen. With Nova's help, Daniel built a live relay system using parts from the damaged shuttle and hidden communication channels. It was old tech, but clever, enough to broadcast across nearby systems. They set up cameras in the cave. The message had to be clear, powerful, real. Daniel faced the lens. His voice was calm but heavy. My name is Daniel Ross. I'm human. 2 days ago, I answered a signal from an alien mother whose child was dying. I didn't ask what species. I didn't ask what law I was breaking. I only saw a child in need. I gave my blood to save him. And it worked. Now her people want the child dead, not because he's dangerous, but because he's different. Because he's living proof that humans and Valonians aren't enemies. That we're not so different after all. If you can hear this, know the truth. This child is innocent. He's the future. He stepped aside, and Zara stepped forward. Her voice was shaking. My name is Zara. I broke the law to save my son. I do not regret it. He carries part of your world and mine. He is not a mistake. He is hope. Kale giggled softly in her arms, reaching toward the camera. Zara whispered, please, don't let them erase him. Daniel pressed the button. The signal launched. 2 hours later, the council ship landed with a low rumble. Valonian soldiers in dark armor moved quickly across the rocks, scanning with sharp yellow lights. They moved like shadows, fast and cold. Trained. Ruthless. Inside the cave, Daniel and Zara waited. Kale was asleep again, wrapped safely in the pod. Nova whispered through the comm. 1 minute until contact. Daniel checked the small defense system he built. He had set up a sound pulse field, non-lethal, but enough to slow the soldiers if needed. Zara gripped a curved Valonian blade. Her hands shook. She had never fought before. She was a healer, a mother. But tonight, she would protect her son with everything she had. Daniel looked at her. We might not win. Zara looked at him. Then we die as parents. The first soldier entered the cave. Then another. Then 6. Their weapons glowed with electric blue edges. Daniel stepped in front of them. Stand down. This is a peaceful zone. The leader, Commander Trivax, stepped forward. By council law, the hybrid must be surrendered. Zara held Kel tighter. Trivax looked at her. You broke every law we hold sacred. Daniel raised his voice. And your people saw our message. Thousands watched it. Do you really think the galaxy will support baby killers? Trivax's eyes narrowed. They will forget. Fear always wins. Daniel whispered, not this time. Suddenly, the cave filled with a new light. Another ship appeared outside, smaller, but full of life. A mix of species stepped out. Humans, other Valonian outcasts, refugees from Nohartil, and reporters. Someone had seen the broadcast. Someone believed it. Cameras turned on. Drones hovered. Voices asked questions. Commander Trivax froze. The world was watching. Zara stepped forward, holding Kel high. She looked at the commander. Look at him. He is not poison. He is your future. Kale reached out with a soft smile. Even Trivax hesitated. For 1 second, the sword in his hand lowered. Back on Velen, and even on Earth, millions watched the stream. People cried. Some cheered. And a new word began to spread across galaxies. Hope. But peace is never easy. Daniel and Zara knew this was just the beginning. The council might retreat, but they would plan again. For now, they had won time. And sometimes, time is all a child needs to grow. The council's wrath. The stars above Nohartil were quiet again. The council soldiers had pulled back. For now. Outside the cave, the wind moved gently across the gray rocks. Lights from the other refugee ships blinked in the distance like tiny stars on the ground. But inside the cave, Daniel and Zara knew the silence didn't mean safety. It meant something was coming. Something bigger than soldiers. In the far reaches of the Valonian capital, behind towering glass buildings and golden banners, the High Council met in secret. 7 leaders, 7 voices, all ancient, all powerful. They watched the broadcast of Zara and the human on a wide curved screen. The baby, Kale, blinked on camera. The child looked peaceful, harmless. But to the council, he was dangerous. "He is a threat to our structure," growled one counselor. "He's a child," whispered another. "We are not monsters." "We will be if we do nothing," barked the leader, Elder Maitar. "What happens when other mothers start looking to humans instead of us? What happens when truth spreads?" There was silence. Elder Maitar continued, "This hybrid must not become a symbol. The human must be punished, and Zara must be erased." They all voted. 7 voices, 7 yeses. On Nohar Till, Zara sat by the river near their cave. Kale was asleep in her lap. He was growing fast now, not just healing, thriving. His skin was a brighter shade of blue, and tiny sparks of energy flickered from his fingers sometimes. She looked at Daniel, who stood nearby, speaking to other refugees, Valonian exiles, a few humans who had arrived after the broadcast, and 2 alien healers. "The council will not stop," Zara said softly. Daniel turned. "Then we make sure the whole galaxy watches them. Cameras saved us once. They can again." Zara looked at the stars. "What if they change tactics?" Daniel raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" She stood, still holding Kale. "What if they don't come with weapons this time, but with words?" They didn't have to wait long to find out. 2 days later, a sleek silver ship landed on the flatlands outside their camp. It had no guns, no soldiers, just one diplomat. Her name was Ambassador Letheri. Calm voice, soft smile, sharp eyes. She came alone, wearing elegant white robes that shimmered slightly under the alien sun. Around her neck, a small silver pendant glowed with the council's seal. Daniel met her at the edge of the landing zone, Zara standing a few steps behind. Letheri bowed slightly. "Dr. Ross, Zara of Velen, thank you for seeing me." Daniel stayed quiet. Zara only nodded. Letheri smiled. "We have come to talk. The council wishes to avoid further violence." Zara frowned. "They sent soldiers to kill my child." Letheri's tone didn't change. "And they regret that decision." Daniel narrowed his eyes. "What do they want now?" The ambassador stepped closer. "A peaceful solution. The child stays with you. The council asks only for control of his story. They want to study him privately, quietly. No broadcasts, no messages, no rebellion." Daniel laughed dryly. "You mean they want us to hide him?" Letheri smiled again. "If the galaxy forgets, peace can return." Zara's voice turned cold. "We will not hide Kale. He is not shame." The ambassador's eyes flashed just for a second. "Then I must warn you. The next wave will not be soldiers or diplomats. It will be judgment." She turned and walked back to her ship. The threat hung in the air like smoke. That night, Kale had a fever. His body glowed with waves of energy. Small objects around him floated and fell. His skin pulsed between blue and gold. Zara panicked. "What's happening?" Daniel rushed to scan him. "It's not a sickness. His DNA is evolving again." Nova appeared. Analysis. The hybrid child is developing new energy conductors, possibly related to both human neural activity and Valonian bioelectricity. Zara looked frightened. "He's changing." Daniel nodded. "Into something new." Zara held him tight. "Then we must protect him more than ever." The next day, the council's wrath arrived, not in the form of soldiers, but in the form of false stories. Across alien channels, news began to spread. Hybrid child causes energy storm on refugee moon. Human scientist performs genetic experiments. Alien mother broke sacred laws. Child declared unstable. People began to question the story. Was Kale dangerous? Was he created in a lab? Could he bring harm? Even some refugees began to worry. Zara sat outside their shelter, watching the rumors spread on screens. Daniel slammed his fist on the table. They're trying to turn the galaxy against us. Nova blinked. Suggested action. Counter message. Truth video. Include refugees. Show child's peaceful nature. Zara nodded. Let Cal speak for himself. They made another broadcast. This time, it wasn't just Daniel and Zara. It was a line of people, refugees of all kinds, humans, Valonians, insectoid traders, even a few androids. One by one, they stepped forward and spoke. I held the baby. He smiled. He healed my broken hand with his touch. He helped my son sleep for the first time in months. He's not a weapon. He's a miracle. Then Zara stepped forward with Kale in her arms. Kale reached for the camera, and the moment he touched it, a small glow spread across the screen, a warm light. No one edited it. It was real. A pulse of gentle, beautiful energy. The galaxy watched and felt it. But the Council had already sent something else. A biological drone. Quiet. Deadly. It slipped through the camp at night, undetected, shaped like a piece of rock. But inside, it carried a virus. One designed to target hybrid DNA. Daniel was the first to notice the sickness. One refugee collapsed. Then another. Nova scanned and alerted them. Toxin found. Genetic target. Hybrid traits. Zara's heart stopped. Kale had already been exposed. Daniel didn't wait. He ran to the med lab, tore open the emergency panel, and took a vial of his own blood, stored since the last transfusion. He connected it to Kale's IV line. I need to boost his immunity again, Daniel said, but this virus is stronger. Zara watched helplessly as her baby's body began to shake. His skin dimmed, then pulsed, then dimmed again. Nova's voice counted seconds. Then something happened. A shockwave. A pulse of blue and gold light burst from Cal's body. The virus disintegrated. The refugees who were sick began to wake. Daniel stepped back, his mouth open. Nova spoke. Unknown reaction. The child's body has adapted. His cells now create natural antitoxins. Wide range. Daniel whispered, he's not just immune. He's a cure. Zara held Kale as he opened his eyes and giggled. He saved us again, she said. Daniel smiled. Now let's see the Council try to lie about that. Humanity's light. The camp was silent. The kind of silence that comes after something powerful, like a storm or a miracle. Outside the cave on No Artil, the air had changed. It was softer, still cold and dusty, but now people walked differently. They stood a little taller, breathed a little slower. There was something new in the air. Hope. Zara sat on a rock near the glowing river, holding her son in her lap. Kale was awake, alert, and full of energy. He touched the surface of the water, and wherever his fingers went, the river shimmered in soft gold. He had survived the Council's biological attack. But more than that, he had cured others. Dozens of refugees who were sick, dying, weak, were healed by just a touch, a breath, or a laugh from the child. No medicine, no machines, just Kale. Daniel stood nearby, watching quietly. He wasn't smiling, but his eyes were brighter than usual. He had spent the last 6 hours scanning Cal's blood, his immune system, and his energy readings. What he found didn't fit any scientific model. He's something new, Daniel whispered to Nova. The AI blinked on a small holographic screen beside him. Correct. Subject Cal shows rapid evolutionary traits. Human and Valonian DNA now operate in full harmony. His cells adapt, repair, defend, share energy. Daniel rubbed the back of his neck. He's more than a hybrid. Nova paused. He is a bridge. News had already started spreading. After Cal's healing wave, the second broadcast from the camp reached hundreds of planets. Social feeds lit up. Hashtags formed. Artists began drawing the child with glowing hands. Writers called him the Golden Star. Others called him the Child of Peace. Some said it was fake. Some still called it dangerous. But no one ignored it. In the far Valonian capital, the High Council was losing control. Elder Maiter stood before a large crowd outside the Golden Dome. Protesters carried signs with Kale's image. Some demanded peace, others demanded truth. Inside, council chambers cracked with arguments. We must shut down all broadcasts. We must apologize. We must capture the child and study him before someone else does. Elder Maiter slammed his hand on the table. Silence. But no one listened. For the first time in centuries, the council's power was being questioned, not by war, not by armies, but by a child and a human scientist with a broken ship and a brave heart. Back on No Heart Hill, Daniel knew it wasn't over. He walked to the edge of the canyon and looked up at the stars. They'll try again, he said. Zara joined him, her baby resting against her chest. They can't erase him now. Daniel glanced at her. They don't have to erase him. They can twist the story. Make him a weapon. Use him. Zara's face tightened. Then we must make a choice. Before they do. Daniel nodded slowly. We go public. Not just a broadcast. We leave this moon. Take Kale to the Central Planetary Forum, the heart of the Galactic Alliance. Zara blinked. You want to present him? Yes, Daniel said. Let the galaxy meet him. In person. Zara's voice shook. But what if they fear him? Daniel looked at her gently. Then we show them what humanity means. Over the next 3 days, the camp worked together. Refugees helped repair Daniel's ship. Engineers rebuilt the flight controls. Valonian rebels coded new security layers. Even the healers stitched together a ceremonial robe for Kal, a mix of human cotton and alien silks. It was more than clothing. It was symbolism. Kale wasn't just a child now. He was becoming a message. The day of departure arrived. The camp gathered near the ship. Zara stood at the top of the ramp, holding Kale in her arms. Daniel stood beside her, his eyes scanning the ship one last time. He looked at Nova. Are we ready? Nova blinked. Launch sequence ready. All systems green. Warning. High chance of interception during route to Central Forum. Daniel exhaled. Of course there is. Zara smiled faintly. We'll make it. As the engines roared to life, Kale reached out one hand toward the sky. A pulse of gold shot from his palm, harmless, warm, like a light from a star. And for the first time, the people didn't flinch. They cheered. 2 days later, the Central Planetary Forum sat like a glowing disk in space, half city, half government, and full politics. Delegates from hundreds of species met here to argue, trade, and sometimes agree. But today, the entire forum was buzzing with rumors. The hybrid child is arriving. The human is bringing proof. What if it's all a trick? Inside the Great Hall, thousands of beings filled the seats. Floating cameras hovered in the air. Reporters broadcasted across the stars. At the center of the stage stood an empty circle. Then the ship arrived. Zara stepped out first. Her robe shimmered softly. She held Kale in her arms, wrapped gently, but with his face visible. Daniel walked beside her, calm, focused. A strange silence fell over the hall. Everyone expected a threat. Instead, they saw a baby, yawning, blinking, reaching for a spark of light floating near his hand. Daniel stepped to the microphone. He didn't shout. He didn't beg. He spoke with quiet power. You've seen the stories. You've seen the fear. Now I ask you to look. Not at data. Not at lies. Just at him. He turned to Zara, who walked forward and gently placed Kale on a soft cushion in the center of the stage. The baby giggled. He crawled forward, touched the glass floor, and a soft wave of golden light pulsed out, like a heartbeat. Some delegates gasped, but none ran. A human delegate stood slowly. "Are you saying this child can heal?" Daniel nodded. "He already has, more than once." A Velonian elder stood. "Is he dangerous?" Zara spoke now. "Only if kindness is a danger." Silence. Then someone in the back began to clap. Then another. Then the whole chamber. That night, the forum voted. 95% approved protection rights for hybrid children. A new council was created, mixed species, civilian-led. And Kale was granted Galactic Guardian status. Not as a weapon, not as an experiment, but as a symbol of what could be. Daniel stood on a balcony later that night, watching stars beyond the forum dome. Zara joined him, holding Kale as he slept. "He changed everything," she said. Daniel shook his head. "No, you did. You didn't give up." Zara smiled. "Neither did you." Kale stirred, opened one eye, and reached for Daniel's finger. Daniel let him grab it gently. "You saved me too, little guy," Daniel whispered. "You gave me something to believe in again." The galaxy was still broken. There were still wars, still hate, still fear. But now, floating among the stars, there was also light. And it came from a baby, half human, half alien, full heart. A new beginning. The sun on Velan 7 rose slowly over the silver mountains, casting long golden rays across the sky. Birds with crystal wings flew gently above flowering trees. Rivers flowed softly, singing the songs of rebirth. This was not the same Velan from 10 years ago. It had changed. The streets of the capital now held humans and Velonians walking together. Children of different species ran in the parks. Flags from new alliances flew above the schools. Peace had taken root. And at the center of this quiet transformation was a boy. Kale stood in the training gardens of the new Galactic Academy. He was now 10 Earth years old, tall for his age, with deep black eyes like his mother, and soft golden energy flickering in his hands like sunlight trapped in a storm. He wore a simple robe, half woven in human fabric, half in Velonian thread. On his chest was the small symbol of unity, a blue hand and a glowing star, touching gently. As he moved through the meditation forms, the plants around him seemed to sway in rhythm, not from wind, but from his presence, his energy, his stillness. Nearby, young students watched in silence. Some were human, some were Velonian, some were mixed like him. Kale finished his form, then turned, smiling softly. "Again?" he asked. The children nodded eagerly. And so he began again. In another part of the city, Dr. Daniel Ross walked through the Hall of Archives. His beard was longer now. His hair was gray at the temples, but his stride was steady and his heart was light. He had been offered awards, titles, honors. He had accepted none. But he did accept one thing, a teaching position at the academy. His job wasn't just to teach biology anymore. It was to prepare the next generation for peace. He paused beside a large display, showing a still image. Kale as a baby, reaching toward the camera, that first time on Nohartil. The golden light from his hand had become a symbol across thousands of systems. Daniel smiled at the image. "You changed the galaxy before you could even speak," he whispered. Meanwhile, Zara stood at the Unity Gardens in the city center. She wore robes of a new role, cultural ambassador for the Velonian Human Coalition. But today, she wasn't working. She was planting flowers. Her hands pressed into soft soil as she placed a seed, watered it, and whispered a prayer in the old Velonian tongue. Peace was not something you held. It was something you grew. A young Velonian girl approached. "Are you the mother of the star child?" Zara turned and smiled. "Yes, but at home. I just call him Kale." The girl looked amazed. "Does he still glow?" Zara chuckled. "Only when he's truly happy." The girl grinned. "Then I want to make him laugh someday." In the sky above Velan, a new ship approached. It was sleek and beautiful, made by both human engineers and Valonian architects. The ship carried artists, teachers, peacekeepers, and scholars from 37 different worlds. They had come not for war, but for learning. The ship landed gently in the city's Peace District. Among its crew was a boy with green skin and curious eyes. Another was a robot child learning to feel emotions. And another, a blind girl who could sing in frequencies that healed headaches. They were all here because of Kale. He had become more than a symbol. He was now a living invitation. Later that evening, Kale sat on a rooftop with Daniel. The sky above them shimmered with 3 moons. "Are you tired?" Daniel asked. Kale shook his head. "No, but sometimes I feel full, like I'm holding the feelings of too many people." Daniel nodded. "That's because people send you their hope." Kale looked at him. "Does hope have weight?" Daniel smiled. "Yes, but it's the kind of weight you carry on your shoulders and in your heart." Kale leaned against his old friend. "Did you ever think that one small act would lead to all this?" Daniel looked into the stars. "No, I just knew I couldn't let another child die." Kale was quiet for a moment. Then he whispered, "Thank you for saving me." Daniel wrapped an arm around him. "You saved me too." But peace still had its enemies. Far in the outer zones, an old warlord watched Cal's broadcasts with cold eyes. He didn't believe in peace. He believed in power, in fear. "This child is dangerous," he said to his generals. "Then why do the people follow him?" one asked. The warlord scowled. "Because he gives them something we never could. Light." "Shall we attack?" The warlord raised a finger. "No. Let's test him instead. If he is as powerful as they say, we will see what he does when his peace is truly threatened." Back on Velon, Kale sat alone in the gardens, deep in meditation. Suddenly, he opened his eyes. He felt it. A whisper. A warning. He stood slowly and walked back inside. Daniel met him halfway. "You felt it too?" Daniel asked. Kale nodded. "Someone is coming. Bad." Kale hesitated. "Lost." Daniel understood. "Then we prepare, not to fight, but to remind them of who they are." A few days later, the warlord's ship entered Valonian space. Its weapons were armed. Its shields were high. But as it reached orbit, something strange happened. Its systems glitched, not from attack, but from energy, pure, golden, soft. And then, a message played on every screen inside the warlord's ship. Cal's voice. "I don't want to hurt you. I want to understand you. I want you to remember that once you were a child too." The warlord froze. For a moment, his heart, hardened by decades of war, felt something strange. Warmth. A memory of a time before fear. He ordered the ship to stop and turn back. That night, Kale sat beside the lake. Zara stood behind him. "You didn't use power," she said. Kale smiled. "I did. But no weapons." He shook his head. "Words are power too." In the years that followed, Kale became more than a symbol of unity. He became a teacher, a guardian, a storyteller, and sometimes just a boy who liked to chase floating birds through the gardens. And all across the stars, whenever a mother held a crying child, or a scientist faced a moral choice, or 2 different species feared each other, they remembered the story. The one about the alien mother who broke the law to save her son, the human who risked his life to help, and the child who healed them all.